Hello and welcome to another JPC podcast. So today I'm joined by a very special guest. I have with me Richa Juneja, who is managing partner of JPC. So hello and welcome to the podcast, Richa.
Thank you, Benjamin. Thank you for having me over here. Yeah.
So in today's podcast, we'll be talking about GCCs, and they're a very critical topic, specifically in the context of today's market, where foreign companies are looking to India for its vast skill-based resources. And Richa will be helping us answer a lot of these questions related to GCC setup, taxes that apply to GCCs, as well as the PE question, which we often get from companies looking to set up. So, Richa, why don't you take us through the initial GCC and what does that mean for a company looking to set up in India?
Of course, Benjamin. That's a very good question, and it's a very interesting topic these days. So first, I would like to tell you GCC, Global Capability Center. What do we call in general? And it's a acronym for Global Capability Center, that is called GCC, right? So India today is not only participating in the GCC story, it's actually leading it. If we talk about numbers, as of financial year 2024, India has hosted over 1700 plus GCCs, employing nearly 1.9 million professionals, and generated revenue of around $64.6 million.
Wow. Okay.
So I think that kind of scale speaks a lot, that why India being considered as a default destination to set up GCCs these days.
Yes.
Traditionally, if we talk about tier 1 cities like NCR, Bangalore, Mumbai, Pune, they have already emerged as a global GCC hub because of their deep talent, mature infrastructure if you talk about, and the global connectivity. But the next phase of growth comes here and now because the tier 2 cities in India like Indore, Coimbatore, Jaipur, and I've heard Nagpur also, they are coming up with and joining the GCC race, which is very good. And actually, this is being driven by the GCC friendly state policies, low operating cost there, even the talent pool available there, and the digital transformation which is happening in these cities. So for this, I would like to say practically why India is being considered as a GCC hub. It's not just about the numbers, it's about the ecosystem which India is developing and creating that long-term valuation, the creation and the strategy. So which is really serving very well, and I think which very well set the backdrop which we can discuss why GCC are being transformed from cost center to strategic value creator.
So, Richa, so over the years we've seen outsourcing and KPO models becoming very popular in India. How is it different from a GCC? So if a business were to look to set up in India, how would your advisory be in terms of a GCC as opposed to the outsourcing or KPO model?
So, it's very important for us to understand the difference between a GCC model and the offshoring or a KPO model first. So GCCs are the in-house offshore centers set up by the foreign company in India. So basically it is fully owned and controlled by the parent company sitting outside India. And if you talk about the outsourcing model, the KPO model, it's basically you're outsourcing your work to the third-party vendors, and it's only driven by the cost and the delivery part. Right. If you talk about GCC, the parent company has full control over their processes, their people, their IP, their talent, and whatnot. The parent company has full control over the GCC people working here. So this is how it works. So and the people sitting in GCC, they are not serving to any third-party clients. They are only serving to the parent company sitting outside India. So typically, if foreign company is looking to set up a GCC in India, so if they are employing more than 100 plus people, then it makes more sense for them because once you set up GCC, it comes with a cost, the compliance cost, the direct cost, the indirect cost. So all these factors really play an important role once leadership takes decision, whether to set up a GCC or to go for an outsourcing model. If the people are less than 100, it's always good to go for an outsourcing model or a KPO model, which makes more sense.
So GCCs are more for larger businesses.
Exactly.
And a bigger setup.
It makes more sense to incur that much cost,
So, Richa, besides the cost arbitration that businesses can benefit from, what are the other strategic benefits of setting up a GCC in India? Particularly when we look at risks and other aspects that businesses often are concerned about when setting up businesses in multiple locations?
Beside cost arbitrage, GCCs today are basically creating a real strategic value.
Mhm.
As I discussed earlier, alone India has employed 1.9 million professionals, and these people are actually doing value added jobs. They are
Right.
not providing routine transactional services currently.
Yes. Mhm.
With respect to value added jobs, if I talk about, they are providing jobs with respect to AI, machine learning, cybersecurity, analytical jobs, which are not routine in nature.
Yes.
They really create some value, and this is the value they are getting. So it's not just about the cost we have to
Right.
look into, and
Yes.
it's the value which they are getting by setting up these GCCs,
Yes.
right? And with respect to risk diversification, we have seen most of the foreign companies, they set up their GCCs in different jurisdiction, which really helps them to build up that defense mechanism
Okay.
against any kind of political instability,
Okay.
any kind of geopolitical instability, any kind of regulatory changes. If we talk about the talent concentration risk,
Okay.
so once the foreign company establish their GCC in different countries, they are not putting their all eggs in one basket.
Very good point.
It's very easy for them to pick up.
Okay.
If the one economy is going down, they can definitely go to the other economy.
Right.
So this is how it works, and the risk is being diversified.
Okay. So Richa, now that we've covered the basics of the GCC, what would you recommend as the best way to structure the GCC?
So, what we have seen, most of the GCCs, the parent companies are structuring them in the form of wholly owned subsidiary,
Okay.
right? That's in the form of a private limited company. So the benefit of setting up a private limited company is that you have limited liability, you have the flexibility of raising the capital, and the scalability option is very good, whether in terms of IT, finance, or recruiting people. It's really good there. Alternatively, we have other options as well, like LLPs.
Okay.
We have branch offices. They can look for those options, but they come with their limitation with respect to capital raising, with respect to scalability, with respect to the liability options.
Okay.
So I think that's why the private limited company is mostly preferred over all these setups, by foreign companies to set up their GCCs in India.
Okay, so private limited companies is
Yes,
the recommended.
it's the recommended option. And of course, once you decide the form of a company, form of a setup, it's very important that how it is governed. It's very important that there should be the clear roles and responsibilities defined. You should have proper intercompany agreements, how the conduct is being done for the business. Just to set up a company with all these advantages won't help you much. You have to be very sure, you have to be very careful that how the company is being governed, how the company is running, how the company is doing business with a foreign parent company. So that will really help the GCC to serve as a strategic value creator for the foreign company, and this is how they can manage their tax and regulatory risk as well as in India.
So, Richa, let's look at tax and regulatory requirements now for businesses. And I know this is a topic which is very close to your heart, and you're an expert in some way related to taxes. So, take us through specific requirements for GCCs and transfer pricing rules, other regulatory requirements in India. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. First, from tax perspective, transfer pricing plays a very important role while any foreign company should consider while setting up their GCC in India. The reason being that this is the transaction between two related parties. First of all, if you go for a wholly owned subsidiary option, your related parties, the transaction has to be at arm's length. We have seen most of the GCCs which are operating in India, they go with a limited risk service provider profile, and they are being remunerated on the cost plus model. Whether it's cost plus 10% or 15%, and they generally portray themselves as a limited risk service provider. How do you define yourself as a limited risk service provider is very important from transfer pricing perspective. Reason being, you have to do a robust FAR analysis. FAR means functional assets and risk analysis. As a GCC in India, what functions you are performing for parent company, what assets you are using to provide services to the foreign company, and what are the risks you are assuming. Likewise, the credit risk, the product liability risk, the market risk, that all needs to be documented very efficiently in order to make it transfer pricing aligned procedure.
Okay.
That's very important.
Mm-hmm.
We have seen that most of the company, to reduce this uncertainty, they also adopt for safe harbor rules.
Okay.
Safe harbor rules allows companies to adopt fixed margins subject to certain conditions with respect to employees and turnover, and this is how they manage their tax uncertainty in India. And we have also seen companies going for advanced pricing agreements here.
Okay.
So this is how they lock the pricing for future years, which is a very good option for them.
Okay.
Apart from that, we have seen that the intercompany agreements and how their conduct is being done with respect to that is very important. Because tax authorities these days are trying to lift the veil. They want to understand the real transaction, the real people behind it, the real operations. So it's not just the intercompany agreements you say there, okay, we are limited risk service provider, it will work. It won't work. They would like to understand what are the real transactions behind it. So these days we can say it's not just the paper structure which would work. It's more the real substance which is required to be substantiated with your conduct, and they would like to see your correspondences, your mails, how you are doing the business, what you are stating on your invoices, what is being actually done, which is very important for parent company to be careful while setting up their GCCs, that it's not just the paper structure anymore.
Right. So its substance is really crucial.
Substance is very important, very important.
So Richa, let's look at another big question that businesses have in relation to setting up a GCC, particularly in India, and that's related to PE. And I think PE is a big question because there's a certain amount of risk involved for businesses to, when setting up, knowing exactly what the requirements are and what the regulations entail for the businesses. So tell us a little bit about that.
It's very normal for foreign companies to worry about the PE risk in India with respect to permanent establishment, as you rightly said, because if we talk about permanent establishment as per Article 5 and of Article 5 of various treaties with India, we can see that it talks about fixed place PE, service PE, agency PE. So it's very important once you set up GCC in India, the role and the responsibility the GCC is doing for the foreign company has to be aligned with that. Likewise, I discussed earlier that they are acting as a limited risk service provider. So to avoid the fixed place PE, it's very important that the Indian office should not be at the disposal of the parent company outside India to avoid the fixed place PE exposure. If we talk about the service PE, we have seen that foreign companies are sending their employees in India to perform jobs on secondment agreement, So we have seen that those people are being sent and they are working on the direction and supervision of the foreign company outside India, which again creates a service PE exposure. There are certain thresholds in various treaties with respect to associated enterprise, which talks about if the stay of the employee exceeds that 30 days, for instance, so you may tend to create service PE for a foreign company in India. So they have to be very careful while sending their people to India to avoid the service PE exposure. The third PE which I would like to highlight is the agency PE. So if the people sitting in India, they are concluding the contracts on behalf of the foreign company. So again, it creates an agency PE exposure for foreign company in India. So with this, I think the PE exposure is there, but I think with the better opinion, the international tax opinion, you should go for and be very careful about the do's and don'ts, what you can do, because sometimes tax will not drive the business.
Of course.
Business has to go in its own way. So we have seen clients coming to us, they end up establishing PE and they are not aware on that. The people are sitting in India for 60 days, 90 days, and they were not aware, because that's why we always advise you should go for a formal opinion with respect to the safeguards. You should be careful. So this basically helps in managing the tax and regulatory risk around the PE exposure for the foreign companies.
Richa, let's come to the final question of this podcast, which is for a business that's looking to set up a GCC, what are some key considerations that should be going through the leadership's mind at the time of setup?
Switching to a GCC model, makes more sense if the activities being outsourced are more strategic, more recurring, and core to business model rather than just transactional or routine in nature. Try to understand if the activities being outsourced are related to AI, machine learning, product development, transformation, digital technology. It makes more sense for the foreign company to look for GCC option to have good control over the people and the processes.
Okay.
rather than routine transaction. It doesn't
Hmm.
make any sense for them to, incur huge costs with respect to compliance, with respect to regulation, direct cost, indirect cost to go for such kind of a businesses.
Okay.
So if the leadership really sees that value driven business, which they can really bank upon, they really think that over the next 5 to 10 years, they really see India as a business hub for their global and strategic innovation, I think GCC is a good option. But it should not be totally driven by the cost part. It should
Okay.
be strategic, value added, then only they should look for this option.
So thank you so much, Richa, for answering all of
pleasure.
these questions. And I'm sure that this podcast is going to be very useful for businesses, for leadership teams, for senior leaders who are looking to set up GCC in India. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop us a line. Visit jpc.co.in. And that's it for today. Thank you once again, Richa.
Thank you very much, Benjamin. Thank you for this opportunity.